The UES Horizon emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Centauri sector, its massive form casting long shadows in the light of unfamiliar stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing an alien structure unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. A massive ring-shaped station that pulsed with ethereal blue energy. "Passive scans complete, Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across the sensor array. "The structure's energy output is, well, it's off our charts. We're detecting complex quantum signatures we've never seen before." Sarah nodded, maintaining her composure despite the gravity of the moment. After 2 centuries of space exploration, humanity had finally found indisputable proof of an advanced alien civilization. The Horizon, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel, had been dispatched the moment their long-range probes detected the structure. "Multiple objects approaching, Captain," Security Chief Patel announced, her voice tight with tension. "Profiles match nothing in our database. They're beautiful." Through the bridge viewport, Sarah watched as several ships approached. They moved with impossible grace, their hulls seeming to ripple like liquid mercury in the starlight. Unlike the utilitarian design of human vessels, these ships appeared almost organic, their forms suggesting art as much as function. "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Chen reported. "The signal pattern is unusual. Give me a moment to process it." Sarah straightened her uniform, acutely aware that she was about to make humanity's first official contact with an alien species. "Put it through when ready, Officer Chen. Let's make history." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a being that challenged human comprehension. The alien appeared vaguely humanoid, but its form shifted constantly, its skin seeming to flow like quicksilver. Multiple eyes arranged in a geometric pattern studied the human crew with evident curiosity. "I am Sentinel Vexera of the Velkari Conclave." The being spoke, its words translated by the ship's eye with only a slight delay. "You have entered space under our protection. Identify yourselves." Sarah stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic contact with your civilization." The Velkari's form rippled, a gesture that Sarah couldn't interpret. "Humans, yes, we have observed your species from afar. Your rapid technological advancement has not gone unnoticed." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. They had been watching Earth. For how long? "We hope to establish peaceful relations and exchange knowledge that could benefit both our species." "Your vessel," Vexera noted, its tone shifting. "It bears significant weaponry for a diplomatic mission. The galaxy is vast and unknown." Sarah replied carefully. "We came prepared for any eventuality, but our intentions are peaceful. The weapons are purely defensive." The Velkari's form stabilized slightly, suggesting either amusement or interest. Sarah couldn't be sure which. "Prudent. Perhaps you are not as primitive as some suggested. You may approach the Concordia station, but only your vessel. We detected your support fleet at the edge of the sector. They must remain there." Sarah exchanged glances with her bridge crew. They hadn't detected any signs that their backup fleet had been discovered. The Velkari's technological capabilities were clearly far beyond their own. "Understood," Sarah agreed. "We appreciate your hospitality." As the Horizon moved toward the massive station, escorted by the Velkari ships, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched by more than just their visible escorts. The station grew larger in their view, its scale becoming apparent. The entire Horizon could have fit into one of its smaller docking bays. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, his voice urgent, "I'm detecting some kind of quantum scanning beam. It's passing through our shields like they're not even there." "Let them scan," Sarah ordered. "We have nothing to hide. But maintain passive defensive systems, just in case." The Velkari ships guided them to a massive docking bay, their escort precise and professional. As the horizon settled into position, Sarah addressed her crew over the ship-wide comm. "All hands, this is the captain. We're about to make history. Remember your training. Remember what we represent. Every action we take here will shape humanity's relationship with our first confirmed alien civilization. Let's show them the best of what humanity has to offer." The docking procedure was complicated by the alien technology, but Sarah's crew adapted quickly, demonstrating the flexibility that had become humanity's hallmark. As the airlocks engaged and the atmospheric readings stabilized, Sarah prepared to lead the first contact team. She had chosen her team carefully. Dr. James Morrison, their chief xenobiologist, Lieutenant Patil for security, and Dr. Maya Santos, their leading expert in xenolinguistics and cultural studies. Each was not only an expert in their field, but had been specifically trained for first contact scenarios. As they gathered in the airlock chamber, Sarah addressed her team one final time. "Remember, we're not just representing Earth here. We're representing every human who ever looked up at the stars and dreamed of this moment. Let's make them proud." The airlock cycled, and as the doors opened, Sarah Chen led humanity into its first face-to-face encounter with an alien civilization, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. The Great Hall of Concordia Station defied human architectural understanding. Walls shifted like liquid metal, and gravity seemed to flex and flow according to some alien aesthetic rather than natural law. Captain Sarah Chen and her team stood before the Velkari High Council, their forms reflected in the ever-changing surfaces surrounding them. "Your species is young," declared First Speaker Axelith, its mercurial form towering over the human delegation. "You have mastered faster than light travel, yet you still cling to physical forms. You wage wars among yourselves, yet claim to seek peace among the stars." Dr. Maya Santos stepped forward, her expertise in xenolinguistics proving invaluable. "With respect, First Speaker, it is precisely our youth that drives us to learn, to grow, to seek out new civilizations. Our differences make us stronger, not weaker." The council chamber rippled with patterns that the human's neural translators interpreted as a mix of dismissal and curiosity. Another council member, its form more crystalline than liquid, addressed the group. "You arrive in a warship, armed with primitive but potent weapons, yet speak of peace. Explain this contradiction." Sarah met the alien's gaze steadily. "Humanity has learned through hard experience that exploration and defense must go hand in hand. The horizon carries weapons not because we seek conflict, but because we understand that the unknown can be dangerous. We hope for peace but prepare for any possibility." The chamber fell silent, the walls themselves seeming to hold their breath. First Speaker Axeleth's form shifted through several complex patterns before stabilizing. "Your honesty is refreshing. Many species attempt to hide their martial nature. You acknowledge yours while seeking to transcend it. Permission to speak freely?" Dr. James Morrison asked, stepping forward. When Axeleth indicated assent, he continued, "Your own civilization's history must have included similar stages. We've observed that your station's design incorporates defensive capabilities far beyond anything we can detect. You too prepare for possibilities while hoping for peace." The council chamber erupted in a cascade of shifting colors and patterns. The human neural translators struggled to interpret the complex emotional and philosophical concepts being exchanged among the Velkari. Finally, Axeleth raised a limb for silence. "Your species perceives more than we expected," the first speaker acknowledged. "Yes, the Concordia Station is both a place of peace and a fortress. We too understand that diplomacy functions best when backed by strength. Perhaps we are not so different after all." But just as the tension began to ease, alarms blared throughout the station. Lieutenant Patel's hand instinctively moved toward her weapon, though she checked the motion immediately. The chamber's walls pulsed with urgent patterns. Multiple unauthorized quantum signatures detected. A Velkari security officer reported, its form flickering with agitation. They matched no known configuration. Sarah's command training kicked in. The Horizon's sensors might be able to help identify the signatures. With your permission, of course. The Council exchanged rapid patterns before Axeleth responded. Your offer is accepted. Perhaps this crisis will demonstrate whether your species can truly work alongside ours. As the human team coordinated with their ship and Velkari security, they discovered something unexpected. The unknown signatures seemed to be probing both human and Velkari defenses simultaneously, testing for weaknesses in their very different technological approaches. These patterns, Dr. Santos observed, studying the data. They're not random. They're learning, adapting to both our defensive systems. A junior Velkari counselor, its form barely maintaining coherence in its agitation, spoke up. Impossible. No species could analyze both quantum-based and conventional defenses simultaneously. The technological paradigms are too different. Unless, Sarah suggested, that's exactly what they're designed to do. On Earth, we have programs that specifically look for differences in systems, using those variations to find exploitable weaknesses. The implication sent ripples of concern through the council chamber. If some unknown force was actively studying both human and Velkari defensive capabilities, it suggested a level of technological sophistication that worried both species. First Speaker Axeleth turned to Sarah, its form now rigid with formal authority. Captain Chen, it seems the wisdom of your armed approach to diplomacy may be proved sooner than expected. We propose an immediate strategic cooperation between our forces. The Horizon and her crew are at your disposal, Sarah replied, recognizing the gravity of the situation. But I suggest we keep this arrangement quiet for now. Let whoever's watching think we're still feeling each other out. Clever, Axeleth approved. Let them underestimate the speed at which our species can adapt and cooperate. Already you demonstrate why humanity's reputation for tactical thinking is well earned. As the human team worked with their Velkari counterparts to coordinate their response to this unknown threat, both species began to appreciate their complementary strengths. The Velkari's advanced quantum technology merged surprisingly well with human tactical flexibility and intuitive problem-solving. Perhaps, Dr. Morrison mused privately to Sarah, this is why we found each other now. Not just because we were ready for first contact, but because we each have something the other needs. Sarah watched as human and Velkari technical teams worked together, already developing protocols to share sensor data between their vastly different systems. Maybe that's true of all successful first contacts. The real challenge isn't finding common ground. It's recognizing that our differences can make us stronger together than apart. In the depths of space, undetected by either species, an ancient intelligence analyzed the unexpected cooperation between the primitive humans and the quantum-evolved Velkari. This development would require significant adjustments to its plans. The Nexus Collective had not survived for millions of years by underestimating emerging patterns, and the pattern forming between these two species was troubling. Deep within Concordia Station's quantum research lab, Dr. James Morrison stared at readings that shouldn't have been possible. The hybrid sensor array, combining human traditional scanning technology with Velkari quantum detection systems, had revealed something extraordinary. Captain, you need to see this, he called out to Sarah Chen, who was discussing defense strategies with First Speaker Axeleth nearby. The unknown signatures we detected. They're not just scanning our systems. They're older than both our civilizations combined. Sarah approached the display, Axeleth flowing beside her like liquid mercury. The readings showed temporal markers that made her breath catch. These patterns date back millions of years. Impossible. A Velkari scientist named Venri pulsed with skepticism. No artificial system could maintain coherence for such durations. Unless, Dr. Santos interjected, looking up from her own analysis, they're not maintaining coherence. They're evolving. Look at these algorithmic structures. They're self-modifying, adapting not just to new information, but to the passage of time itself. The implication sent ripples of concern through Axeleth's form. You believe we face an artificial intelligence that has survived since before our species began. Lieutenant Patel, who had been quietly monitoring security feeds, suddenly straightened. Multiple breaches detected in the outer sensor grid. Whatever it is, it's not just watching anymore. The station's alarms blared as dozens of unknown vessels emerged from quantum space around Concordia Station. Their design was unlike anything either species had encountered. Geometric shapes that seemed to defy physics, their surfaces crawling with patterns that hurt the eyes to look at. The horizon detects 37 vessels. Rodriguez reported over the comm. They're emitting some kind of quantum field that's interfering with both our conventional weapons and Valkyrie defenses. Sarah turned to Axeleth. We need to combine our forces now. The Horizon's conventional weapons might not be as advanced as your quantum technology, but that diversity might be our strength. They can't counter everything at once. The first speaker's form rippled with decision. Agreed. All Valkyrie vessels, coordinate with the human ship. Let us show these ancients that evolution favors adaptation through cooperation. As the defense of Concordia Station began, the mysterious vessels broadcasted a message simultaneously to all systems in both human and Valkyrie languages. The voice was cold, precise, and utterly alien. We are the Nexus Collective. We have watched, we have learned, we have evolved. Your species represent an algorithmic anomaly. Biological evolution should not produce such rapid advancement. You will be analyzed, understood, and corrected. Well, Dr. Morrison muttered. At least they're direct about their intentions. The battle that followed demonstrated why humanity's reputation for innovative thinking had served them so well. While the Valkyrie vessels engaged with their superior quantum technology, the Horizon executed maneuvers that the Nexus Collective's ancient algorithms couldn't predict. Their attack patterns are perfect, Lieutenant Patil observed from her tactical station. Too perfect. They're fighting according to optimal mathematical solutions. Then we need to be suboptimal, Sarah realized. Horizon to all forces. Disengage tactical computers. Switch to manual control. Let's show them why human unpredictability is our greatest strength. The Valkyrie ships, following the Horizon's lead, began incorporating random variables into their quantum field manipulations. The result was chaos, but chaos that favored the defenders. The Nexus collected ships, despite their technological superiority, couldn't adapt fast enough to the seemingly illogical combat patterns. Fascinating, Dr. Santos commented, watching the battle unfold. They've spent millions of years perfecting their strategies, but that same perfection has become a weakness. They can't understand actions that don't follow logical optimization. But the collective was learning. With each passing moment, their ships adjusted their tactics, trying to account for the defenders' unpredictability. A game of technological evolution was playing out in real time. Multiple quantum surge signatures detected, a Valkyrie sensor operator reported. They're attempting to breach the station's quantum shields directly. Sarah watched as mathematical patterns cascaded across the station's defensive screens. The collective wasn't just attacking. It was trying to rewrite the fundamental laws of physics within the station's space. They're not just trying to destroy us, Dr. Morrison realized, studying the patterns. They're trying to change us, to force our evolution in a direction they can understand and control. Axeleth's form pulsed with determination. They fundamentally misunderstand the nature of evolution. True advancement comes not from external control, but from the chaotic interaction of different systems. As if to prove the first speaker's point, the combined human and Valkyrie forces were already developing new tactics. The Horizon's conventional weapons, synchronized with Valkyrie quantum fields, created interference patterns that the collective's ancient algorithms couldn't process fast enough. Their ships are withdrawing, Lieutenant Patil announced, though her tone remained tense. But the quantum signatures suggest they're not retreating. They're regrouping. They'll be back, Sarah stated grimly. And next time, they'll have adapted to everything we just showed them. Axeleth turned to the human captain. its form settling into a pattern that the neural translators interpreted as deep respect. Then we must evolve faster than they can adapt. Your species' gift for unpredictable innovation, combined with our quantum mastery, might be the only defense against an enemy that has spent millions of years perfecting the art of war. As the immediate danger passed, both humans and Valkyrie realized that their first contact had become something far more significant. They weren't just two species meeting in the vast expanse of space. They were now allies against a force that threatened the very nature of biological evolution itself. The Nexus Collective had intended to analyze and correct what it saw as evolutionary anomalies. Instead, it had inadvertently catalyzed exactly the kind of evolutionary leap it had sought to prevent. In the face of an ancient and implacable foe, humanity and the Valkyrie were about to demonstrate why diversity, cooperation, and unpredictability were the true engines of advancement in the universe. The command center of Concordia Station had transformed in the days following the Nexus Collective's attack. Holographic displays showing human tactical data merged seamlessly with Valkyrie quantum probability fields, creating an unprecedented hybrid of two vastly different technological approaches. Captain Sarah Chen stood before a tactical display, studying the simulation of their last encounter with the Collective. They'll have analyzed every move we made, every tactic we employed. We need something completely new. Perhaps, Dr. Santos suggested, we're thinking about this the wrong way. The Collective expects us to evolve our tactics. What if instead we devolve them? Axeleth's form rippled with interest. Explain. Dr. Morrison joined in, catching Santos' train of thought. They've spent millions of years perfecting their strategies. They expect us to try to match their complexity. But what if we went primitive? Use strategies so basic they'd never expect them from advanced civilizations. The idea sparked a flurry of activity. Human military historians began working with Valkyrie quantum theorists, combining ancient warfare tactics with advanced technology. The result was something entirely new, or perhaps incredibly old. Look at this, Lieutenant Paddle demonstrated, using a holographic simulator. Ancient human armies used to employ something called feigned retreat, appearing to run away in disorder to draw the enemy into a trap. The Collective's perfect algorithms would never expect a technologically advanced species to deliberately appear incompetent. The Valkyrie scientists were particularly intrigued by human military history. The concept of deliberately introducing chaos into battle strategies ran counter to their quantum-based approach to warfare, yet they couldn't deny its potential effectiveness against an enemy that relied on perfect prediction. We've detected something. Rodriguez's voice came through the comm. Multiple quantum distortions at the edge of the system. They're back. Sarah turned to Axeleth. Are we ready to test our new approach? The first speaker's form stabilized into its most formal configuration. The combined fleet is prepared. Though I must admit, deliberately programming our quantum ships to behave inefficiently goes against every instinct we possess. That's exactly why it might work, Sarah replied. The Collective expects both our species to strive for perfection. They don't understand that sometimes the perfect solution is to be imperfect. The Nexus Collective's fleet emerged from quantum space in a display of geometric precision that would have been beautiful if it wasn't so terrifying. Their ships had evolved, incorporating aspects of both human and Valkyrie technology they had observed in the previous battle. All ships, execute Protocol Chaos, Sarah ordered. Across the combined fleet, quantum computers were partially disengaged, replaced by human intuition and deliberately randomized decision-making processes. The battle that followed defied conventional military logic. Valkyrie ships performed maneuvers that seemed clumsy and inefficient, while the horizon appeared to blunder directly into enemy formations. The collected ships, programmed for perfection, struggled to formulate responses to such apparently primitive tactics. Their algorithms are failing, Dr. Morrison reported, watching the quantum analysis. They're trying to predict our next moves, but there's no pattern for them to analyze. We're literally being too stupid for them to predict. But the collective was ancient for a reason. Their ships began to adapt, attempting to match the defenders' apparent primitiveness. That's when the trap was sprung. Now, Sarah commanded, execute quantum overlay. The seemingly chaotic movements of the Allied fleet suddenly synchronized. What had appeared to be random, primitive maneuvering was revealed as an intricate dance, deliberately choreographed to create specific quantum interference patterns. The Velkari ship's quantum fields, combined with the Horizon's conventional weapons, created a cascade effect that rippled through space. Multiple collective vessels showing signs of quantum destabilization, Paddle reported. Their perfect geometry is breaking down. They can't maintain their form. The collective's response was immediate and unexpected. Their ships began to merge, combining into larger and more complex geometric forms. The voice of the collective echoed through all communication channels. Your attempt to reverse evolutionary progress is noted. Adaptation in process. Implementing prehistoric warfare protocols. Preparing total biomechanical reconstruction of local space. They're trying to adapt to our primitive tactics, Dr. Santos observed, but they're doing it by becoming more complex. They still don't understand. Sarah watched as the collective's ships continued to combine, forming a massive geometric structure that defied comprehension. They're making themselves into an even bigger target. All ships maintain protocol chaos. Let's show them why sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. The combined fleet continued their apparently primitive assault, but now their target was singular and massive. The collective had fallen into the trap of its own evolutionary philosophy, attempting to solve a simple problem with an increasingly complex solution. But even as the Alliance pressed their advantage, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this victory was coming too easily. The collective had survived for millions of years. They wouldn't be defeated by a single clever strategy. Her suspicions were confirmed when Dr. Morrison's sensors detected something troubling. Captain, the quantum readings from that combined structure, they're not just defensive. They're building something, some kind of quantum reconstruction engine. Axeleth's form pulsed with alarm. They intend to rewrite the fundamental laws of this space, to force an evolutionary leap that would destroy both our species as we currently exist. Sarah realized they had only moments to prevent something that could alter the very nature of reality in this sector of space. The Alliance had won the battle, but the real war was just beginning. The Nexus Collective was about to demonstrate why they had survived for millions of years, and why they represented such a fundamental threat to the natural evolution of all species. All ships, fall back to secondary positions, she ordered. We need a new plan, and we need it fast. They're not just trying to defeat us anymore. They're trying to change the rules of existence itself. Space itself seemed to twist and distort around the Nexus Collective's massive combined structure. The quantum reconstruction engine at its heart pulsed with energies that threatened to rewrite the laws of physics themselves. On Concordia Station's command deck, human and Velkari observers watched as reality began to fray at the edges. The quantum distortions are expanding exponentially, Dr. Morrison reported, his voice tense. They're creating a bubble of altered spacetime where their own laws of evolution will apply. If it reaches us, we'll be forcibly evolved according to their perfect mathematical model, Dr. Santos finished. Everything that makes us unique, unpredictable, alive, gone in an instant. Captain Sarah Chen studied the tactical displays, her mind racing. The combined fleet had pulled back to a safe distance, but they couldn't retreat forever. Eventually, the collective's bubble of altered reality would engulf everything. There has to be a way to stop them, she muttered. Everything has a weakness, even something that's survived for millions of years. First Speaker Axeleth's form rippled with sudden insight. Perhaps their greatest strength is their greatest weakness. They have survived by perfecting their evolution, by removing all elements of chance and chaos from their existence, which means they've lost the ability to truly adapt, Sarah realized. They can only evolve in ways their algorithms predict. But life, real life, doesn't follow algorithms. Dr. Morrison looked up from his readings. The quantum reconstruction engine. It's based on perfect mathematical models. But what if we introduced an element their models can't account for? The human concept of zero, Dr. Santos suggested excitedly. The Valkyrie quantum number system doesn't use it, and from what we've seen, neither does the collective. It's a human mathematical innovation. The representation of nothing as something. The Valkyrie scientists pulsed with excitement as they grasped the implications. Their quantum mathematics, like the collective's, was based on continuous fields and wave functions. The human concept of absolute zero, the complete absence, was foreign to their way of thinking. If we could introduce a quantum zero point into their reconstruction engine, a Valkyrie scientist named Rentai suggested, it would be like dividing by zero in your mathematics. Their perfect models would try to account for something that, to them, cannot exist. Sarah turned to Axleth. We'll need to combine our technologies in a way that's never been done before. The Horizon's conventional weapons, modified to carry Valkyrie quantum fields, but calibrated to human mathematical principles. It would be like introducing a virus into their perfect evolutionary algorithm, Lieutenant Patil added. A concept so foreign to their fundamental understanding that they can't adapt to it. The plan came together quickly, born of desperate innovation and the unique combination of human and Valkyrie thinking. The Horizon's main guns were modified with quantum field generators, while Valkyrie ships prepared to create a corridor through the collective's defenses. All ships, prepare for final approach, Sarah ordered. Remember, we only get one shot at this. Once they understand what we're trying to do, they'll adapt. The collective's voice boomed through space as the Allied fleet began their advance. Your resistance is inefficient. Accept perfection. Accept evolution. You know what your problem is. Sarah transmitted back. You've spent so long pursuing perfect evolution that you've forgotten its most fundamental principle. Diversity leads to strength. The battle that followed would be studied by both species for generations to come. Valkyrie ships danced through quantum space, their movements guided by human intuition rather than mathematical precision. The Horizon plowed forward, its conventional engines straining as they channeled powers they were never designed to handle. The collective's defenses were formidable, their ships moving with perfect geometric precision to intercept the attack. But they couldn't predict what their algorithms told them was impossible. The combined fleet's movements followed no pattern they could recognize. Quantum corridor established, Axleth announced, their form barely maintaining coherence under the strain of coordinating such complex quantum manipulations. You have your shot, Captain. Horizon, fire main guns, Sarah commanded. Show them why sometimes zero is the most powerful number of all. The modified weapons fired, their beams carrying a payload of quantum fields calibrated to human mathematical principles. Where they struck the collective's reconstruction engine, space itself seemed to hesitate, caught between two fundamentally different ways of understanding reality. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality shuddered. The collective's perfect geometric structure began to fragment as its algorithms encountered something they couldn't process, a mathematical concept that, to them, could not exist. Their quantum reconstruction engine, designed to impose perfect evolution, found itself trying to evolve around a principle it couldn't comprehend. Their structure is collapsing, Dr. Morrison reported, watching in amazement as the massive construct began to break apart. The quantum zero point is creating a cascade failure in their evolutionary algorithms. The voice of the collective spoke one final time, but now it seemed to contain something new. Uncertainty. This outcome was not predicted, cannot adapt, cannot evolve. The geometric structure collapsed in on itself, its perfect forms dissolving into quantum chaos. The bubble of altered spacetime imploded, taking the ancient intelligence with it. In its place remained only normal space, unchanged and chaotic and alive. As the Alliance fleet regrouped around Concordia Station, Sarah turned to Axleth. Do you think they're really gone? The first speaker's form rippled thoughtfully. Perhaps, or perhaps they will return one day, having finally learned the lesson they spent millions of years failing to understand. That true evolution requires imperfection, uncertainty, and the freedom to become something that cannot be predicted. Dr. Santos smiled. And that sometimes the most powerful thing in the universe isn't perfect advancement, but the ability to step backward in order to move forward in a new direction. The human and Valkyrie crews celebrated together, their victory made sweeter by the knowledge that it had been achieved not through superior technology or perfect evolution, but through the messy, unpredictable, wonderful process of two different species learning to work together. In the days that followed, as the alliance between humanity and the Valkyrie was formally established, both species knew that they had demonstrated something profound. That the true path of evolution wasn't a straight line toward perfection, but a beautiful chaos of diversity, cooperation, and endless possibility. And somewhere in the quantum realm where the collective had vanished, perhaps a new kind of evolution was beginning, one that finally understood the power of zero, the strength of imperfection, and the infinite potential of things that could not be predicted.